In today's video, which is part 2 of learning how to make your own school ring, we're going to get from where we left off in part 1, and we're going to add in the text here. What I have is myjewelrybench.com. We're going to add in the year. I added this cute little palm tree on the side because, hey, I'm in Florida and why not? I put my initials on the side here, and then we've got a Mason's logo over on this side. So I just want to cover that in part 2. We're going to get through all those steps. And in part 3 coming up, we're going to be 3D printing this and getting it ready for casting. I hope you like this video, guys. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't seen part 1, I'm going to put a link to it right here, right now, so you can go back and watch that. There's also a link in the description below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos, because the more you share, the more my channel grows. The more likes I get helps my channel grow a little bit more, and it really does help me out a lot. Okay, so this is where we left off in part 1. So we have our ring, and what we want to do next is to create a field of text around this insert here on the top, and that's going to be like maybe our school name. First thing I want to do is I'm going to hide the stone, and I'm going to hide the school ring, and I am going to create my text. So I'm going to hit the 7 to go into orthographic mode so that I'm looking straight down. Remember, the keypad number 7 is a straight down look, 1 is a front look, and if I unhide my ring, you can see what I mean. 3 would be a side, so we got front for 1, 3 for side, 7 for top. If you press 1 and then 9, you're looking at the opposite angle. If you press 3 to go to a side view and then press 9, you're looking at it from the opposite side. If you press 7 and then press the 9 key on your keypad, you're looking at it from the bottom. So looking at this basically from the top, I'm going to hide the ring again. So looking at it down, straight down from the top, I'm going to hit Shift A, and we're going to add in text, which is right here. I'll zoom in a little bit, and now we're going to hit the Tab key to go into edit mode, and now I'm going to type in whatever I want. So I'm going to backspace to get rid of the word text, and I'm going to put this in uppercase. I'm going to type in myjewelrybench.com. I know that's pretty unoriginal, but it works for me. I'm going to hit the cap locks key to go back into normal mode, and then Tab to go into object mode. Now, okay, so we have our text done, but you can see that the J is protruding past the bottom line with all the other text. So I want to change the font. So I'm going to come back to fonts, and I'm going to select a new font. We're going to open up the fonts, and I'm just going to pick one that looks good. I'll pick this one right here and hit open. And now if we look, myjewelrybench.com is all on the same line, all in uppercase, and that's perfect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and now we're going to give this some depth. So going back to geometry, we can hit the extrude key, and we can make it a little bit taller, a little bit thicker. And I can give this some depth if I want to make the letters just a little bit more bold. So I think I'll make it about there. Remember, this isn't engineering, this is artistry, so I'm doing things by eye. I know some people might come back and say, you know, I'm doing it wrong and I should be measuring all kinds of things, but just follow along, you're going to see what I'm getting to. With the text the way I want it, and I'm just going to make this just a little bit taller. We're going to come back here to extrude, and we're going to make that just a little bit taller. With the text selected like that, now I have to convert this. This is just what I want. But before I convert this, I actually want to go back into edit mode, and I want to add in a space and a star. Now the space and the star, you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to go back into object mode here, so we're looking at. So we've got myjewelrybench.com with a little star at the end. You'll see why I did that little star in just a moment. Next thing I want to do is convert this to a mesh. To do that, we select our text, we come over to Object, we come down to Convert To, and you'll see there are 3 conversions. We want to use the middle one, Mesh from a curve, meta, surface, or text, and this is a text obviously, so we're going to convert that to a mesh now. Now you can see the little code here has changed next to the word text. And if I go into edit mode now, I can't edit the text, but I have a whole lot of faces, edges, and vertices. With all selected, I actually want to give this a little more depth. So I've got everything selected, and I'm going to press Control T just to re-triangulate these surfaces, and I'm going to subdivide by right-clicking on the object, hitting subdivide, and I'm just going to hit 2. And then I am going to go back into object mode. Now I've basically just given my text here a little more flexibility when I'm bending it or moving it around a curved surface. It's going to look better. The next thing I want to do is actually move this to the middle. I want to get the cursor to the middle of the text, so I will right-click, set origin, and I'll come down to origin to center of mass. Then I'm going to put this in the center of our workspace, which is right over here with this little red and white line. Hit Shift S, and I'm going to say selection to cursor, and that puts it right in the middle. Let's unhide our ring so we can see where our ring is. And there is our text. I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger. And I now have to make a curve or a circle around the indentation where we're going to put the text. Again, in the video on how to make text jewelry, I did cover some of this, but we'll cover it again. What I want to do is add a new curve. I want to add a circle curve, so I'll hit Shift A. We'll come down to curve, up to circle, and now we're going to make that approximately 15 millimeters by 15 millimeters. Change those parameters here. I'm going to grab that curve and I'm going to move it up to here. I'm going to size it down to about like that, and that gives us the path that we want our text to take. With that done, I'm going to select the text, which happens to be the school name or myjewelrybench.com, and I'm going to apply a curve modifier to this object here, our text. We'll come over to the modifiers tab. We are going to add a modifier, and it'll be a curve modifier. With that selected, we can then place that object onto the Bezier circle by simply applying this right like that. And when I bring this up, you see that myjewelrybench.com now encompasses the circumference of the ring. Now, I need to make this a little bit wider or a little bit longer, because if we look at it from a straight down angle, you see it's only covering about half. So with the text selected, and I know it's kind of running along the x-axis just because of the way I did it before. If you need to confirm that, press the tab key to go into edit mode, and you can see your text runs along the red line, which is the x-axis. I'm going to go back into object mode, press tab, and now I want to select the sizing, and I'm going to size along the x. So I'm going to hit S, X, and then I'm going to size my text to about here, and that looks pretty good. Now remember, I added that star, and the reason I added that star was because I wanted some kind of a character in between the first letter and the last letter of the school name. Now, this is where school rings can get a little funny, and I've seen it done both ways. I've seen the text where you can read it from the top, and I've seen the text where you can read it along the side. So depending on the angle of the text, and you can angle it just about any way you want, let's rotate this along the x-axis so we can get the angle correctly. Press R and then X, and now I can adjust the angle of the text to get it about where I want it, which is, let's say, right there. Now, that's one way of doing it, and the reason why some schools will have their rings done like that is when you're looking down at the ring from the top, you can read myjewelrybench.com all the way around. One of the more common things to do is actually rotate it so that you could read it from the side. And we're going to do that now. R, X, and I'm going to flip this over. If I can get it to RX, and still not quite right. RZ180, RX, and put it about like that. And now you can see we can read it from along the side of the ring, myjewelrybench.com. And there's our star. Now, is this about where the text is that we want it? This is a really cool way to get your text here and then manipulate it around. I prefer to keep my text written like this, just because that's the way I'm used to doing it, but I'll actually produce a ring that any customer wants any way they want it. The next thing I want to do is I want to move this star over to the side. So I'm going to hit the 7 key to look at it from the top, and now I'm going to manipulate the curvature of this and just the position of its angle. And I can grab the X here and I can rotate this until I get that little star character about right in the middle of the red line. And then when I come back and look at it, you can see that the little character here, the little star, is in the middle of the ring from the side angle, and myjewelrybench.com goes all the way around the rest. So that's how we do the text. The next thing I want to do is actually apply this. So I'm going to apply the curve modifier by hitting the apply key. And now when I come over here, I can actually mold this text right into the ring. I'm kind of happy with my angle. So I'm going to select the text, I'm going to select the ring, and I am going to press Control J and join those two objects together now as one. So now you can see that my school ring contains the letters and the school name that I used to design this. Now, with that done, let's just zoom out a little bit. We're going to grab our curve. I'm going to size this up just a little bit. I'm going to bring it down to about there. And the next thing I want to do is I want to put my initials here, and let's say the year that I graduated. I don't know, but it looks like a good idea to me. So I'm going to add in 2 more text items. To do that, I'm going to hide my ring. I'm going to go down and look from the top view with the 7 key on my keypad. I'm going to press Shift A. I'm going to add in 2 new text items. The first, we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to type in 2020, and I'm going to hit Tab to get out of edit mode. I'm going to zoom in here, and we're going to do similar to what we did before. We're going to give this some geometric shaping, so I'm going to extrude this just a little bit. I'm going to come over to depth and make it a little more bold. That looks good to me. And then I'm going to set the origin to center of mass. 20 all laid out. Now what I want to do is actually duplicate this. I'm going to hit Shift D, press Enter, and then I have a new copy of it. I'm going to move this down a little bit, and we're going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to type in my initials. And my initials are PMG, and that looks okay. I can change the text if I want. I can select a different font. So if I come over here, come over to fonts, hit the little folder button, select whatever font I want. You know, don't forget you can download a million fonts off the internet also. So if you don't have fonts that you like, you can always go grab a million of them. I'm just going to select this one here, and we'll grab that one there. And that looks pretty good. And I'm going to select origin, set to center, and now I'm going to make that just about the way it is. I'm going to actually convert these both to mesh objects. So I'm going to select by left clicking on 2020, come down to object, convert mesh from a curve, and I'm going to do the same with the initials. Object, convert to mesh from a curve. Now I'm going to place these both in the center. So I'm going to grab my little text here that says 2020, and we're going to call this 2020. And the PMG, we are going to call that initials. And I will place these both in the center using the Shift S selection to cursor. And I'm just going to move that up just a little bit so I can differentiate them. Let's unhide our school ring and then zoom out. So with the 2020 selected, and we can select it up there. I'm going to size that to make it a little bit bigger. I am going to go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, select all, and then I'm going to subdivide this. So right click on it, go up to subdivide, and I'll just give it 2 subdivisions. Go back into object mode, and now I want to basically do the same thing here. Is I want to put it on one side or the other. It's a little bit larger than I want it to be, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We're going to apply a curve modifier to the year 2020. So with the year 2020 selected, come down to the wrench. We're going to hit add modifier curve, and then I'm going to select the Bezier curve as my object, and you can see it puts it right where I want it. I want to rotate this along the x-axis, so I'm going to hit RX, and then I'm going to kind of come down to about like so. Oops. Yeah, let's flip this over. RZ 180, and now we will do RX, and then I'm going to curve that up a little bit, just about like so. I'm going to bring this up, and it's a little bit bigger than I want it to be, so we can size it now to fit in this portion of the ring. S, and I'm going to make it about there. From the side view, or we can kind of move it up or down where we want it. I can move it left or right. That looks pretty good. Now let's do the same with the initials. So I'm going to select my initials. I'm going to size those up. I'm going to flip those on the z-axis, RZ180, just to make sure that they show up good. And I'm going to bring that up. We'll apply a new modifier for this. So we'll come down to add modifier, curve. We're going to select our Bezier circle, and then rotate that along X, RX. Get that about like so. But now we need to move it over to the other side. So I'm going to just kind of drag it over to the other side here. See, our cursor is way off where I'd like it to be, but that's just a little problem with Blender and the way I do this. So I'm going to put that in the middle. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. S to size it. And we're going to put it just about like that. Now, I'm going to look at this from the side view, and our 2020 needs to be tweaked a little bit along its rotation on the x-axis. So I'm going to hit RX and just kind of move that about like so. And I'm going to move it up just a little bit, and then in just a little bit, about like that. That's good. Now let's go back here, and now I need to move this a little bit closer to the center of the ring, so I'll move this in just about like so, and that looks good. And now I will apply the modifiers for both the initials and the year. So with the initials selected, I'll hit apply, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down and select the ring, so both objects are selected. Press Ctrl J to join those. I'll grab the year, we'll apply its modifier, and then I will do the same to that. With the year selected, hold the shift key down, select your ring, and then press Ctrl J to join those objects. Now all of the text that I've added so far has been joined to the ring. So if I hide the ring, you can see the text is gone also. The last thing I want to do is add in some logos to this, and I'm not sure exactly, I don't have a logo for my school. Probably have some kind of an object that I could create, and I don't know if there's anything in my Blender Gems library, so let's just go and see what I've got there. We're going to come down to incidentals and see if there's anything really cool here. Since I'm down in Florida, let's take this palm tree and we'll append it in. And I'm going to size it up. There's our palm tree. Let's rotate that along the x-axis, RX90. I'm going to select that palm tree, press Ctrl A to apply the scale and rotation. And now I want to do the same thing here. I want to take this curve. We're going to reuse this curve. I'm going to bring it down like so. I'm going to size it up so that it goes around the lower portion of our shield cutout on either side. And I'm going to take this palm tree and I'm going to apply it to the side here. But the first thing I want to do is I want to make it a little thicker. So I'm going to go to tab mode. See, we got a lot of vertices here. I think we'll be okay. Maybe, maybe not. Let's just subdivide this a couple times. That should give us a little bit of a bend. I'm going to hit tab, go into object mode. I'm going to make this a little bit thicker along the y-axis. So I'm going to hit S, Y, and then I'm going to make it a little bit thicker, about like that. That looks good. I'll make it a little bit smaller. That looks good so far. And now I want to apply this to one side or the other, so I'm going to give this a curve modifier also, and we will use the same Bezier curve. Curve modifier, Bezier curve, and you can see it puts it along the outside of the ring, and I can kind of move it around any way I want. We're going to rotate that along the x-axis and see if we can get it to at least be about like that. I'm going to move it in. And SY, I'm going to make it a little thicker. Just about like so. That looks pretty good. Now if I want to, I can actually curve this. I can adjust the curve and the shape of this. So if I come over to this angle, let's just zoom in here. If I come over to this angle here, I can hit tab. No, let's not hit tab there. If we come over and we look at it from the middle and I press tab, you can see we're back in the middle. And if I do the exact same thing we did before, we place this down so that the center of our object is about where that red line is. I'm just going to move it over here. And I'm going to use the bend tool to bend this just a little bit. So I'm going to put my cursor over here with the entire object selected using the A key, Shift W, and let's kind of bend this one way. Shift W will bend it the other way. And then now I'm going to hit tab, and it gives me a much better curvature along the object itself. RX, and I'm just going to rotate this a little bit more just to get it within our shield, just about like so. Look at it from the side. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to move it up just a little bit. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just move it in. Okay, about like so. What do you think, guys? I think I like that. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Now, I'm going to hit the apply so that we can apply this modifier. And now with that palm tree selected, I'm going to hold that shift key down, select my ring. Both objects are selected, press Control J, and I've joined the palm tree to the ring. And you can see now it's all one piece. So the last thing I need to do is add something to this side, and I really don't have anything that is like standing out to me. So I'm going to select another one of the objects here. We're just going to select, how about, I'm going to select the Mason's item. Not crazy about those, but hey, I'm not a Mason. We're just going to apply that. So I've appended that into my object here. Press Tab key to see if I've got, oops, Tab. How did we end up here? Tab. So go into object or edit mode, and it looks like I'm pretty subdivided. I'm going to go back into object mode and size this down. And we want this to rotate along the x-axis about here, just like so. Come in from the side, a little more, RX, and we're going to straighten that right up. I'm going to set the origin to center of mass. I'm going to put that right in the middle, Shift S, selection to cursor. I am going to bend this a little bit, so let's just size this down a little bit more. We want that to be about yay high. That looks good. I'm going to size this along the y-axis and make it a little bit thicker, S, Y, and then bring it a little bit thicker, about like so. From the side view, now I'm going to go into edit mode, pressing the Tab key. And this is where I can select all the faces and objects. And now I can bend this object a little bit. So I'm going to put my cursor at the top. We've got our little red and white circle in the middle, which is about what we want. Shift W, and I can bend this about like so, and then we'll move our cursor down to the bottom. Shift W, and then we'll move our cursor over and bend it like so. Go back into object mode, and now I can do basically the same thing as apply a curve modifier to our Masonic piece, and then kind of get it over to this side under my initials. I will apply that curve modifier with the Bezier circle, and you can see, boy, it's way over here. Now we want to rotate that RY90, RY90. Oops, we didn't do that. That didn't come out too good. No, that's right. We just need to move it over. So it's in the wrong place. Let's move it over. So get that over here. Grab that X arrow and then move the Masonic symbol over until you've got it about where you want. Let's go back. And now I can kind of tweak it right about there. And we need to bring it in a little bit, so I am going to adjust it with the green arrow, bring it over like that. And it doesn't perfectly form the curve, so we're going to rotate it along the x-axis, R, X, and then I can move that up and down a little bit until I get it to about where I want it. And then let's move it in just a little bit more, about like so. And it is backwards, isn't it? I'm going to bring this over to the side. Let's kind of select our ring. We'll zoom out. Wrong side. RZ180. RZ180. Let's bring it over to this side. This is the side we want to put it on. So I want to put it right on the side there. That's about where I want it. And now we want to edit this so that we can bend it over. So I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected, so it puts our little red and white circle in the middle of our object. Press the Tab key. I'm going to put my cursor at the top of the Masonic symbol. Press Shift W to bend this, and I'll bend it over kind of along the curvature. We're going to go down to the bottom now and do Shift W, move that in. When I'm there, press the left button. I kind of like that. That's perfect. And I'm not even going to put this along the curve. It's thick enough I don't have to. Let's go into object mode, and I'm just going to move it right in like so. That's pretty good. I'm going to put my red and white cursor back to the center of the world, so hit Shift S, and then cursor to world origin. Puts it back there. I'm pretty happy with the Masonic symbol the way it is. I think I might just pull it out just a little bit more just to give it some definition. With that selected, I'll hold the Shift key down, select my ring, and then Control J to join the objects. Now let's get rid of the curve. We don't need that anymore. And now there is our school ring. Let's bring in our gemstone. That is our school ring, just the way I wanted to design it. It's not perfect because I didn't have my pre-supplied samples of school logos. I would have preferred to do that. But like I said, the palm tree works because, hey, I'm in Florida and it's got palm trees all over the place, and I kind of like that. So guys, I hope you liked this video. If you didn't see part one, I will put a link to that again at this point, as well as in the description below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you can, share. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. The more subscribers I get, the better my channel seems to do. And the little bit of money that I make from each video kind of helps me buy supplies like resins and things like that, so I can do reviews for them for you guys. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and stay tuned for part 3. We're going to 3D print this. Once it's 3D printed, we're going to do some comparisons and take a look at what we think of our school ring before it gets ready for casting. Have a good day, guys.